Hey everyone, so I actually wanted to give you guys a little update and a little backstory because I realized that on my YouTube channel I don't have anything on here that states other than I'm journeying to be a mother, right? My motherhood journey, right? That I don't really have something telling you guys a little like back history and backstory. I have some updates on here, but you guys don't fully know. So I'm gonna get into it right now. I'm hoping to keep this somewhat brief and just keep updating you guys. But here's the story. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Angel, and I am actually 35 years old, 1985 baby over here, and I don't feel it. I mean, 35 is so young in my book, but as I'm journeying to be a mom, I feel that clock is ticking and ticking, and it can weigh on you a little bit, you know? So I want to like rewind it back a little bit and talk to you about what has happened to me and my journey a bit to motherhood. So when I was 16 years old, I was actually experiencing a bit of pain on my ovaries, and I actually was a bit of a late bloomer getting my period. My period happened to hit me, I think just like a month shy of my 15th birthday. So by the time I was 16, it was really affecting me. It was hurting me. I actually would get really, really heavy periods and just be struggling. So they wound up doing a ultrasound and found that I had polycystic ovaries. I then was diagnosed with PCOS, and at this time I was a twig. So I had struggled a little bit during this time with some anorexia, and that could be a whole other video, but just to briefly explain, I'm 5'7", and I was actually at one point under 100 pounds. So my body was really fluctuating. I had gained some weight, and then I basically was working out too much. I was feeding my body, but I was working out 3 times a day. So my body was just kind of being put through a bit. And by the time I was 16, I was really trying to put some weight back on because I was too thin. So at the time, my body didn't look like what people would experience, what a PCOS body looks like right now. And that's a whole other thing too, of kind of breaking that stigma about that, or what people think it should look like, because it can affect many women, and some of these women don't even know that they have it, don't even know if they're struggling. So it doesn't always look like a stereotypical body. So there I am, struggling at 16 with this diagnosis, not really understanding it. And back then, they didn't really know as much as we know now. And so my doctor immediately put me on, I mean, can anyone else who's gone through this, drum roll please, birth control. Birth control, I was not even sexually active at that point, but I was put on birth control in order to regulate the period and help with the cramping and help with the cystic acne and all that stuff, my mood swings, my hormones, all that, right? I was on that for probably up until I was maybe about 20 years old, and it kept really disrupting with me. I actually couldn't ever really get my mood balance, all of that stabilized. Not to mention, yes, growing up, I ate really, really healthy. My parents actually thought that we were going to be athletes. I was a gymnast, swim team, softball, cheerleading, like anything active, we were doing it. Riding my bike, swimming in the creek. Like I was so active my entire life. So my parents really did think we were going to go into being, being an athlete. But I mean, we were an athlete, but like potentially like professionally. And we wound up not doing that and going to theater. Like I wound up they were like, you have to choose. So I chose theater. So my body was being put through a lot. I was actually even, in my mind, working out always had to look like beast mode. I had to be in beast mode in order to lose the weight. I had to be in beast mode in order to perform at a certain level. I had to be in beast mode because it was a mindset over matter, right? A sprained ankle, push through it, like rest, but push through it. So when it came time to losing some weight and getting that under control, I was in beast mode and I went too far. And so my body, here it is, struggling with PCOS, struggling with hormone changes to begin with at that age, and then throw all of that in there. Plus, if being fully transparent, was also dealing with stuff that happened to me as a child that I didn't fully heal through until my 30s. So I look back now and see such a arch of all that stuff that was going on that was leading up to my early 20s. So here we are now, 21 years old, my first time partaking in drinking. I never drank up until that point. I waited till I was 21 to be able to drink. And so what happens when you go out to the bars and you're eating the yucky food, not fueling yourself properly, you're putting the bad stuff in. And at that point, I realized that was the moment that my mom stopped making those choices for me, and I started to have to make those choices. And I didn't always choose the best ones in the moment. So here we go. Now I'm getting into my I'm in my early 20s experiencing that. I wound up losing my mom at 24. She passed away. And that hit me even hard. So like, imagine going through that, then not healing from all that stuff, and then your mom passes away. So I noticed I had such a bad relationship with food and how I fueled my body, even though I knew what I needed to do. In fact, I had several times throughout either, I guess you would call it dieting, depriving in a sense, but also really knowing that like my body truly works beautifully off of chicken and vegetables and water. And I did learn that in my early 20s. Like, I just feel so fueled, and I feel such clarity when I do that. So let's fast forward a little bit here. I'm struggling through all of it. At this point then, a few years later, just maybe a month shy of turning 27 years old, I get married. And, I'm off birth control now, and I'm just, trying to figure out my body. And at this point, my period comes and goes. It'll come on for 4 months, and then it'll be off, for 4 months or 5 months, and then I'll be back. And I was averaging about 4 periods a year. Nothing too alarming, because if you think about it, some things out there even just have you, regulating your period at that rate. It seemed kind of average, but not really. Something is off, right? So I get married and decide that, if pregnancy happens, it happens. So this was in September of this year, 2021. It'll be 9 years that I'm married. And at this point, I've had no miscarriages, no, nothing. There's nothing there yet. So, when you're in your late 20s, you're kind of like, okay, all right, if it happens, it happens. I'm just going to let it go. We'll see what happens, and just not putting a lot of pressure on it. And when I didn't put pressure on it, it also caused me to not, I'd have moments of where I felt the need to look into it a little bit more. Okay, I have an insurance plan now, and I have great insurance. Let me go in and get tests that I needed. So at that time, they confirmed again, which I already knew that I had PCOS, but they confirmed with a different type of ultrasound, yes, you have this. And I was actually prescribed birth control again. And I got back on it, and I was just like, this does not make me feel good. I knew I started getting my period regularly, and then all of a sudden, one month, I'm not getting my period. And for somebody who's trying to have children, that's not the best thing to put them on. But then not only that, how much it messes with you, because hormonally you're struggling mentally, physically, emotionally, maybe even spiritually. And so it's just kind of playing with your emotions a bit as you're trying to navigate trying to become a mom, but without putting a ton of pressure on myself. And at one point I realized I need to stop this. I need to hold up. I remember I was sitting at my gynecologist, and she said, well, Angel, we got to look in to see what's going on, because at this age, this is not okay that you're not you're feeling this way, and there's something wrong here. You should not be under 30 years old feeling this way. And at that point, it kind of made me put a halt a bit on, because she had asked me how many children I wanted, and she was just like, well, we better get started. And this was right before I turned 30. And at that point, then I started to go and get the blood work and do everything. And then I put a complete halt on it. I was like, wait a second. And in that moment, I realized that I had really needed to do some healing from within in order for me to be the best mom, the best wife, the best version of myself that I could give another human being, and even my husband, right? And most importantly, myself, because I deserved that. So that was a huge like aha moment for me, that it really set the tone then for the next, I would say, 5 or 6 years in the work that I've done up until this point. Has it been difficult? 100%, because it takes a lot of pulling back the layers. It takes a lot of like digging deep within to figure out what is going on. So we can fast forward a little bit, but briefly in that fast forward is that I went and sought some therapy that really needed to happen. I healed from a lot of the stuff that happened to me as a child. I said the things that needed to be said that I was keeping in internally, and holding such a weight on my shoulders. And the moment of that lift for me was being able to say those things and not be chained down anymore. And obviously it's going to affect me throughout the rest of my life, but it's not going to define me or set the tone for how I'm going to live my life moving forward. So I know you wonder, like, how does that all play in? It plays into my story because it put a bit of a halt on children. But again, if it happened, it happened, then that's great. But I truly believe in such a timing thing. So I am a huge believer that there is divine timing, God's timing, his ultimate knowing that that's what you need, knowing the desires on your heart and placing that there every single day and asking for it and being open to receive it. And so within that, it gave me a lot of clarity on healing. It gave me a lot of clarity on working on myself. So a few years into it, I actually found yoga, and I was doing research. It stated these are the things that you need to be doing, which is healthy eating with no hormones or pesticides, drinking like a well-balanced like fiber diet, all the good healthy fats, and just such a wonderful diet plan. Not even diet, just like eating clean. And so I started doing that, and I felt amazing. I went to yoga. I found out that you didn't have to be in beast mode all the time, that you could actually push past some things and like work through it. And I found, most importantly, that I was healing emotionally and spiritually throughout my yoga journey. I'm still on that journey a bit, and that is a probably part 2 video here. But for the most part, and I can kind of talk about like the decline and what has happened over the years through some of that and what it's caused me to do and think, and what has happened in my life because of it, those circumstances. But for the most part, I'm still on that journey, and that really transformed me and changed me. It allowed me to lose some weight, which I happened to recently put back on during the pandemic, and just where my focal point was not in line with that, even though it was lined up to be that. Because I got to tell you, when I started to do all that following year of really like being so conscious of that work that needed to be done, that following year, I actually got my period for 9 months straight. From that January until September, I had my period. And then slowly, a lot of stress came into my life around that time. So much stress that it actually pulled that period away. It caused me to not put the best things in my body, causing the reverse effect that I had just worked so hard to change. And then just threw me for a loop. And I can see where the decline was for myself personally. So I'm working back up. I'm working my way back up, and I'm doing it slowly but surely. And I sit here today. So I'm just going to tell you, I'm on that journey. I'm going to give you guys a part 2 with this. But I sit here today feeling the best I have felt in my entire life, even though I am not where I want to be physically. I am so much more present mentally, spiritually, and emotionally than I've ever been in my entire life. I don't know, maybe it's just coming into 35 feeling like so at peace with things, and things just look so differently than they do in your 20s and early 30s. But there's such a clarity that has washed over me that I can only really truly give up to God, knowing that I've built a more intimately blessed relationship with him. Even though I've always had that relationship with him, there was something about this past year that has set me on a different tone and ride. And for that, I'll forever be grateful that he's shown me all of that through everything that I've been through. So I will give you part 2, but I just wanted to share with you that this is my journey to motherhood. And this is one that I am so excited to be, adventuring on. Although it's been a bit of an adventure for over 8 years now, I can really start saying that there's there's an action plan put in place that I thought I was doing, a few years ago, but I needed a hold up on what I thought the action plan should look like, and I really needed to invest to get the action plan from within. So huge changes coming, especially over this next year. I'm just so thrilled what God has in store, and I'm here for the ride. I'm here for the journey. So I just want to thank you guys for being here with me today and listening to a little bit of my story. So if you like what you see here, please subscribe to this channel. I'm actually trying to build it as I go. But, if you find this helpful, you find, my story or different things that I put out there is definitely to inspire. Maybe you are one struggling here. I'm also a huge fan of hearing from other people. A while ago, I remember getting very overwhelmed by the information that was flooding in because I didn't really know what to do with it. One, financially, and two, like if you're struggling mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, how do you take in all that stuff? So because I'm a lot more open now, I'm very free to take in the advice and hear it from others. And everything that you suggest is prayerfully observed and looked at and researched so that I can be using what is being given, which is an extra bit of a gift of what is out there, which is other people's knowledge, right? I don't know everything. And I'm really incredibly grateful for that journey. So I want to thank you guys. Please make sure you take care of yourself, take care of someone else, and I will talk to you all soon. Thank you for joining me.